Hello friends, welcome back to Learn With Me Calligraphy. I'm your host, Christopher, and today we're going to be focusing on connecting our letters. Finally, our hard work has paid off, and now we can start to begin forming words. The goal today will be how best to form our connections. Remember though, this is not cursive. We're still picking up that pen and choosing how we want our letters to look. So, in front of me, we have our standard calligraphy script, and we're going to combine two letters at a time. Then later, we're going to move on to our monoline script, give that a shot essentially, and finally, we're going to have a couple of both examples that we can combine on our own. So if you're following along with the book, we are in pages 59 through 61. And with all that out of the way, let's get started. First up with connecting, we're going to do a simple A and B. And we're pretty standardized here. It's our up and down motion, and we go in to connect. Now, notice with our individual letters, our B has a tail. We want to create the illusion that this is all one form. So we're going to remove this tail, and instead we're going to come in here, bring it down, and connect the two right there. So this looks like one. Then we're going to finish it out. Now, this composition needs some serious work, but that's the general idea. So let's practice with another one here. Oof, I cannot connect my A's today. And remember, pick up. We aren't doing cursive here, we're doing calligraphy. So every time you do something, make sure that you pick up and move it on down. As you can tell, I started a little bit too far out, so I had to draw my line diagonally. Now if you want more of that italicized look, you can go for that, but to try and keep this similar to what we were doing by the example, let's see if we can get that more accurate. So we'll start our line like right on top of our little squiggle here at the end of the A. Hopefully the line's wide enough. It is. Fantastic. We'll bring that B around. Looks like my nib was starting to cut into the paper there, but not half bad. Let's move on to a G and an R. Pretty similar to our A. Going to do our simple up, down, up stroke. Then we're going to wrap it around. And for me, I like to stop. I like to combine this right here and continue. I guess you could try doing it all as one. I don't think you'd receive the same result though. Well, we can try it and see. Let's see here. Bring it up. Then not quite. Our R looks a lot different than our G does, and it just, to me, does not flow well together. It looks like we're getting closer to a monoline versus our standard calligraphy text that we've been working with. So let's remember to pick up. There we go. I like to give it that little flourish right on the end there, just to make it sharper and match the overall look of the rest of the letters. There we go. Let's see, we'll do this one more time. Now I'm just trying to draw it in. I am actually really fighting my nib today. Let's see here. Yep, gonna need some work, but I'm hoping this pen here isn't starting to wear out on me. Let's see. Here is an interesting combination of S and a U. I am not quite sure with this one. Let's see here. Because essentially, we're finishing out our S in one fell swoop. And then we pick up and we create that illusion by just like that. Do it one more time here. Again, remember to pick up. And I think personally, I like to form, like with our U, I like to do almost a mirrored copy to create that U. Because I find that something like this, which I may be actually mistaking it for a W or something like that, but to me, just with the way I personally do this, I end up creating my N's and my U's and my M's very similar. So I like to add little bits of flair that make it just a bit different. But that is all up to you and your interpretation of it. Whatever works best for you, I would say go for. Okay, our S definitely needs to lose some weight and our U needs to get a little bit taller. But we're going to continue on and actually do something. I like that we're onto our first word here now. D comes up, comes down, and we stop. Because our O starts on the downward stroke, not on the upward stroke. Because if you'll notice here, I'll do it all in one motion. Just to give you an idea, we're pressing down and then going light. And that would be all in one line, and I could have tried to connect it a little better. But at that point, it's like, okay, where do you go? If you're trying to create another line to be able to go on to the next letter, you're basically stuck right here. There's nowhere to go with it. So, which, if it was this word, where it was just, or the O, for example, is the ending letter in your word, it might make sense. But for the way that we've worked with our O's, that just doesn't seem plausible to me. So let's do it one more time here. Making sure everything connects. Okay, and I'm thinking I'm a lot more comfortable with this. Probably because I've practiced this a little bit more with D's, but and as soon as I say that, I mess up on it. Oh, come on. Eee. Like I said, really fighting it today. Okay, now an M and an I. And let's see what we got here. Go down and up, pick up, down and up, and then we'll stop. And we'll pick up again to finish off our I. Now some of you may be really good at this, where you can do an M all in one shot. I personally am not that great at it, so I do like to pick it up. Let's see here. Up. Because then I start to do this, where I create W's. Let's see. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? There we go. Again, I don't expect anyone here to be like perfect at their letters, but I do hope that you have a basic understanding of what you're accomplishing or trying to accomplish. Okay, and then we'll do a L and an A together. There we go. And the trick is to just, unlike all of the wrong examples here, to hide the connections. Yeah, I did that on purpose. Let's see. L and an A. And again, it's just practice and figuring out what works best for you. Do a C and an H here. That doesn't come out half bad. That being said, this is probably the one I've worked on the most, simply because that is part of my name. So it's really easy for me to combine these. And make them look, you know, slightly together. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, kinda. And then 2 L's. I think the trick with the L's is going to be making sure that they're the same height, because an L and an E look very similar to each other. It's just combining them in the best way possible. So that they are legible to your audience. Let's see. We'll do this one more time here. And when you are doing this, I tend to, you know, make it look like all one line, but remember, if we're putting this in the middle of the word, we need to make sure that we have a tail on each end for us to be able to connect another letter. So there we go. Give ourselves big tail there. And need to just start a little bit inward. So if you are having this issue, remember that when you start your letter and go and finish it, remember where this is. Put your line immediately, that's the next starting line immediately above where you ended. And that'll give you enough space to connect them every time. Okay. Now let's go on to our monoline here. And we're going to switch up. Use our Tombow calligraphy pen. And let's see. This is kind of interesting because you're not necessarily dealing with connecting them. Some of them you are, but some of them you aren't. Like this G and L, they actually don't connect. So here, we're just going to quickly draw out this G. And then for the L, we actually start over the top. And we're more and more working on a composition than we are focused on connecting the letters together. So let's try this one more time here. There we go. Something like that. I feel like we could try and combine them. I just don't know that the look would necessarily go well. But because immediately my thought is to like grab from here to create the L, and it just does not look right. We could try doing something like this, but then that's immediately cursive. And that's kind of the cool thing with this in calligraphy. Connection doesn't really matter. Composition is way more important. Because if we do this one more time, I want to say it looks so much better, but let's reference this one. It looks so much better in comparison to this. Now our V and our A, those actually combine. Again, we are hiding our line and where it ends into the other letter. Kind of wiggled a bit there. It's really hard because with monoline, you have to make sure everything is all one line. There is no variation and nothing sticking out that shouldn't be sticking out. Usually with a regular calligraphy pen, it's a whole lot easier to hide that. But in monoline, it's less forgiving. I think we went a little high. Let's try going a little bit lower now. Just bring it down. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. And then we'll move on to our Y and our O. There we go. Again, it is just so easy to delve right back into cursive with monoline and be like, oh, I can just do this all in one shot. But remember, slow and steady. We're creating art here. Let's see here. Try and change it up a little bit. Yo. That's looking pretty good. Then we'll do a C and an E. It's nice with this because you can always grab the tail of the C to start. Like, you don't have to do this where you're grabbing randomly and hoping it sticks. You can just go to the end of your C, pick up, and start your E right there. Okay, T and an H. Ooh. I like this. I think we'll start... I think we'll start with the H, actually. Finish out our line there. Now, as you can tell, prepare for it. Because I felt like I had to move my hand through it. Let's try pick up. Because that is the thing, my hand tends to firmly rest down on the page. So when I'm drawing, it's like, oh, I'm not going. I'm going too far. I have to move. And that's when you get these little hiccups. So if that ever happens to you, remember to pick up your hand and go for it. It takes a little bit of practice because your hand tends to wobble up in the air here, but it is a little bit better than stop, wiggle, go, stop, wiggle. And hopefully that way you can get the illusion of that single line going a whole lot better. I actually think I want to try the T first. And then we'll go with the H. Tends to get more condensed with the way I do it. Let's see. Can we get this to go better? Or to go bigger, I should say. We need to go more straight up and down. Something closer to that. Now we're going to go to on. That is quite the curly cue we have. So you're going to press down, and you're just going to flick the pen around and around, make a couple loops like you're on a roller coaster ride, pick up, and finish her out. Go. And yeah, as you can tell, I kind of made a mistake there. You want to stop. As soon as you get to the bottom, stop. Then pick up. Okay, so let's do our big roller coaster, then our little roller coaster loop, slam it into the ground, pick up, and go again. Okay. Do me. Just like with the others, make sure that when you pick up and you go to your next letter, start right above where you ended, and then it'll follow through pretty darn well. There we go. Something like that. And then for our last one, we actually have a tip here. So we're going to reduce the size of the E and enlarge the size of the L, which I was kind of alluding to earlier. You really have to pay attention to the sizing for them, because otherwise they look like the same letter. So let's go small here, pick up, and go massive. Small guy. Yeah, we need to go even bigger. Or we could go really small. Yeah, that's working a whole lot better. Let's do that right there. And that right there. I think I need to work on the way the L looks a little bit. Something maybe closer to that. But again, it's all practice. And then finally, what I was really looking forward to, try it on your own. So, we're going to figure out how to combine these to where they look the best that they can look. So, how are we going to combine our high? Well, let's see. Up and around and down, or pick up. Go up here. We're going to make our tail a little bit longer. Going to push our eye down, and then flick it up. Yeah, that looks pretty well combined. Let's try it again. Yeah, not too shabby. Need to combine that a little bit better down there, but otherwise... making not half bad progress. Oop. We'll give it a shot. I think I went a little short on that tail. Looks a little bit more condensed than I'd like, but it still works. Okay, PR. Let's try PR. We'll go down. And then we'll go around. And I think we're going to do it the same as our G. We're just going to continue onwards, pick up, and then finish it out. I went a little too far, so let's change that. Something like that, that's a whole lot better. Yeah, come on, combine. Pretty close. If you'll notice too, I'm starting to curve that P a little bit. And it's mostly because I'm fighting with this pen. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, it's partly a look, partly trying to get over a limitation I'm having for this episode. Which is fine. Sometimes that's just going to pop up where you don't have everything together. Not everything's going to work properly. And when those moments come, it's learning how to adapt and be able to make what you have still work. Because as you can tell, like, for example, my R is still sticking out relatively far. But that's more my technique. That's not because of a pen. This right here, this dabbling, that's more of a pen. That's grabbing in as I'm pushing down. So it's like, okay, how do I remove that from happening? Well, maybe I put the pressure on a curve. So it's just learning, okay, maybe we don't have the best of the best, but how can we make the best of what we have? Okay, on to S and T. You know, I have a couple ideas for this one. So let's try... I'm gonna go like this. So that's one way I was thinking, and then the other way, which probably makes more sense. It's tough. I think this looks a little bit better if you're trying to go for one line. Because I think this, to me, this connection up top just looks messy. But compositionally, overall, I think the style of each letter works better together than these two. These look like they're different scripts to me. We can try and see if we can get it to look a little better. So what if we do that? Because yeah, that corner, even when I pick up, still kind of is present. Maybe if I make that line particularly thicker. It's tough. Sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you want it to work out. But that's kind of what we're working on here is, okay, how can we best combine everything to look the way we want it to look? We'll do an O and an M here. Come around. Go up. My M needs some serious help, but I think it makes sense. Let's see. And then that. Yeah, that's a little better. It's just learning where to pick up and where to continue. But yeah, we'll finish out with some monoline here, and that'll be it for the day's episode. Bow. Let's see. Yeah, that kind of works. There we go. I think my O is a little big here. Let's make it a bit smaller, and we'll make our B a little bit bigger. Something closer to that. Remember, with monoline, make sure that you don't have these tails hanging out. But otherwise, I'm kind of happy with that one. Now we have a Lee. Let's see here. Okay, that's much easier. Well, kind of looks like an L, kind of looks like an S, kind of looks like a D. I think I'm going to need to figure out how on earth I'm going to get them separated. That's a little bit better. We'll try QU, very common combination. That tail is just a little too small. Let's try this one more time. There we go, much better. And then, weirdly enough, an E and an X. Let's see how we work with this. I think I'll just follow it through. Yeah. Because I mean, like, you get to this point and it's like, okay, you pick up, then you try it again. You run into the issue of the line width being slightly different. So, I don't know, maybe you could try doing it a pickup, but I think it's just follow through. Just going slow and finishing it out, essentially. Something like that. So yeah, that is the end of the episode. And normally I don't give you homework besides just, hey, go out and do practice. But for this one, definitely grab every letter of the 26 letters of the English alphabet and combine them. Any way, any shape, any form. Just put them together and see how they work and how you like the composition. And see what kind of combinations work and which ones don't. And then in that way, you can also develop more of your own style. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers!